Hello and welcome along to the Bunch of Punts Betting Podcast, your specialist show for football long shot bets. Coming up on today's show, we're going to build an Acca. Matthew's got a load of bets from Non-League. I've got a few from the Prem and the EFL. We're going to kick things off with an Acca that we're going to build live on the show, and then we'll get into our naps, next best, and all that good stuff. It's worth pointing out this is a gambling show, so be careful. If you are unfamiliar with the risks that come with gambling, visit begambleaware.org. Never gamble more than you can afford to lose, etc., etc. And if you're not, follow, like, subscribe us on YouTube. The videos all go up there. That's where you can find our profit and loss spreadsheet at the end of the show. And be sure to rate us on Apple or Spotify and comment. Let us know what you reckon to our picks or anything you got that you're really excited about for the upcoming weekend. So alongside me as ever, Matthew O'Regan. How are you doing, buddy?
Yeah, good, mate. Buzzing to be back to it after a week away, but yeah, ready to get stuck in. There's lots I like, so yeah.
Where were you?
Tromso, Arctic Circle, for one of the worst games of football I've ever watched, and £13 beers, but I'm back.
£13?
Yeah, we went like the away pub before the game. They gave discounted beers, and it was £7.50 for Brighton fans, and that was considered cheap. Yeah, I went out on the first. I landed about 9 o'clock on the Wednesday. Went out to meet my mate and his dad. Hadn't eaten basically all day because I had took 6 hours worth of flights there. Landed, went from Mackey's, just got like a burger, chips, and a drink, and then I went for 3 pints after, £48 down after that.
Bloody hell!
I know, it was ridiculous. Expensive country.
Where was it? Norway?
Yeah, like as Norway as you can get, really. You have to. So from Oslo, the capital, you've got to fly another 2 hours from there.
Jesus, is that Arctic Circle?
Yeah. Even further north than Bodo Glimt. So, I think.
Jesus, take the draw then.
Yeah. But I suppose it was boring, that, and we got our tickets refunded. So.
Did you? Before
the game, yeah. Like, it was not.
Why?
Shit. Because they appreciate the effort. Because they only gave us 400 allocation, and it's a ball leg to get to. So, as a thank you, they gave us a free shirt, a free scarf, and free tickets.
What shirt was it?
Just like a Brighton, a Brighton design shirt. It's hard to describe. Not like the actual shirt, but like a special commemorative shirt.
That is excellent. Right, so we're getting to the Acca. No notes, basically. This is what we sort of settled on last season. No notes. We'd stay away from the Friday game, early kickoff, potentially as well. But other than that, it's pretty much the Wild West. We're starting the Prem. Early kickoff. Well, it's worth pointing out that the Palace play Man City on Friday. That's an 8 o'clock kickoff. Doesn't seem to be anything glaringly obvious in that fixture. And then early kickoff is Liverpool v Forest. In the Prem, Forest actually don't look a bad price. I'm just looking at 365. They're 19-4.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind Forest.
I don't hate.
Like on the handicap in the Acca, but early kickoff, like backing an underdog, is always petrifying.
Yeah,
if it was at 3 o'clock, I would have had them in the handicap, but you don't want the early game.
No, 100% agree with you. I just think that it's 9-20 on 365, so you'd probably be generally like 1-2 about Liverpool. I think that's too short, might be worth taking on. And there is a thing about early kickoffs in the Prem. Hull beat Man United last weekend, if you can put any stock into that. But I didn't think Liverpool were too bad at St James's Park last weekend. But it takes Iriola a while to settle in, so Forest might be worth a look later on in the show. So the 3 o'clocks in the Prem, you got Bournemouth against Everton. Bournemouth evens, Everton 5-2. Coventry odds on against Hull.
No, nothing really catching my eye there.
No, I know. I'd be interested though to see how Hull get on. The really good performance against Man United shocked everyone.
I didn't get to watch it, so.
They were good, because obviously everyone was talking about how Hull are going to struggle. Like, they should have gone down last season based on the underlying data. But then even, like, the strong points, like, they were awful at defending set pieces. Didn't score from many. They scored from 2 set pieces on Saturday. Like everything just pointed them to be terrible. On that, I'm going to keep track on there to finish bottom price because I feel like that result against Man United might be a flash in the pan. We'll see how they get on. It felt very much like a cup game for them. Watching it, it felt like a cup game. The defending and all that. So I think the 5-4 to finish bottom. They were 5-4, and then they got smashed in before the start of the season. Now they're back to 5-4. Should be worth a look, but I'm going to wait until after this game because I think they could spot a result at Coventry as well, and then get into it a bit later on in the season. Right, Championship Friday night looks like a good game. Wrexham Birmingham.
The Hollywood derby, innit?
Yep. There's Wrexham are 27-20, so like 13-8 generally, and it's the shortest they've been in the last 2 league meetings at the what's the ground called again?
Racecourse.
At the racecourse. But I think they justify it. Birmingham are crap away from home, and they've been struggling. But you wouldn't want a Friday night game in the Acca, would you?
No.
12:30 Derby Swansea.
Poo versus Poo.
Poo versus Poo.
Decent game, but again, Wolves should beat Stoke, but too short for me.
Yep, agree with you there.
QPR, decent price at Blackburn, but would have wanted slightly bigger.
Yeah, I don't mind Blackburn as well. What was it? Drew against Wolves, should have won. Controversial penalty, then came from behind to beat Borough. First 2 games, 4 points. I think that's a brilliant start.
I wouldn't touch either side then because I'm really high in QPR this year.
Yep, they've made some cracking signings.
Well, I'm just looking now because obviously no notes. Bristol City scored 2 at Birmingham and probably could have scored. I saw a few people saying Beadle had a really good game. Them to score 2+ at home to Pompey, 2.25. Pompey obviously 3-1 away at Lincoln, but looked like Lincoln 2.32 XG Lincoln had, and conceded 3 at home to QPR and 3 at West Ham Cup. Bristol City obviously Tallarge, Twine, Ballard up front. I don't think Bristol City to score 2+ is a bad bet, considering, again, top of my head, I'm pretty sure Pompey struggled away from home last year in the league, and Fratton Park was sort of, looking at some of their results away last year, Fratton Park was sort of a fortress, whereas, to be fair, they weren't too bad, but they conceded 41 in 23 away games, which was the second most in the league.
Yeah.
And they played a Bristol City side who should be doing well this year up front. So I don't mind the Bristol City 2+ goals price.
Yeah, it's not a bad shout. What is it, 5-4? I'll put it in at the minute. I was looking earlier, and Bristol City, I remember, have conceded the second highest expected goals in the league. Early days, I don't know how much stock you put into underlying data, but if you fancy Bristol to score a few, odds against about over 2.5 goals as well. Could be worth
Both Pompey games have gone over.
So I'll put that in as well, just in case. There's a bet I like in this league. I've got it actually, but I liked Millwall's price at Southampton.
Double chance, maybe, yeah.
Yeah, that's a good shout. They were the best team away from home last season, Millwall. Top of the division, literally, and on the underlying metrics. I know we're only 2 games in, but it's good signs this season. And Southampton, they got... What's happened to Southampton? I think they've won 2, lost 2. Didn't deserve to lose 1, deserved to lose 1, and something like that. The underlying data is good. Obviously, they went on that unbelievable run last season where I think they lost to Hull mid-January, and then from that point onwards, they only lost to Man City in the semi-final of the Cup. But I've just got some trepidation about them and Spygate, and if it's all going to implode. But I just think Millwall have shown at the start of this season that they are a force to be reckoned with, and they were over 3-1 on Monday. They've been chipped in a bit, but I was just a bit surprised to see them that underrated.
Yeah, I don't know. I do think Millwall are a bit too big, but in terms of Acca, you can't be having them in the Acca, I don't think.
Double chance, 4-5.
I know, but Southampton are a really good side.
Are they though?
Yes. They were shit against West Ham, to be fair. Like a heavily rotated West Ham, but I don't know. Southampton aside, I had finishing right up there this year.
Yeah, they've not even gotten to positive point yet. The big dweebs.
They were shit against Watford too. Well, no, they weren't too bad against Watford, but no, I don't
Right,
know.
I pulled it up. So they battered Colchester, deserved winners. Lost against Watford, perhaps a little bit unlucky. Battered Stoke at home. Got battered by West Ham in the cup. I put it in for the time being 4-5. Anything from that Watford West Ham game.
No, I liked goals in that. Both teams scored, but it looked way too short.
What price is it?
And no, goals was like 4-6 or something earlier when I checked. I can't even think what it is.
Oh yeah, both teams score 4-6.
Yeah.
Overs 8-13. Yeah, I had that game earmarked for potential goal scorers, but no, not sticking out in the end. Right, League One then. Early kickoff, but I'll get onto that later. Leave the early kickoffs probably.
Yeah, for MK against Leicester.
Maybe.
I quite like Orient against Barnsley.
Yeah, I don't think that's a bad shout.
Orient,
6-5.
me and Tom were very big on the outright show.
I was too,
Oh yeah, you
dickhead.
were too as well. Sorry, yeah. And then they lost at home to Sheffield Wednesday. I don't know how that game went, but seemed a close game. And then they beat Wigan comfortably away from home. And Barnsley just sort of look a mess. They lost at home to Bromley on the opener, and then they drew 0-0 at Donny. And they look lucky to have got a point against Donny. And they just the main issue with Barnsley going into summer was a lack of firepower up front, and they don't seem to have to sort of arrested that. Obviously, they scored 3 against Crewe midweek, but they went quite strong as well. Cleary got the full 90, Bland, Kelly got the full 90. Whereas I don't know if Orient, again, I saw out the loop with yesterday's results, but I don't know if Orient went. I'm just looking now. Orient rotated quite a bit, I think. Yeah, I don't know actually. There's a few, like Orient went 50-50, and I think I'm just really big on Orient. And Barnsley last year couldn't defend to save their lives, and they don't have a good sort of they don't have firepower. They struggled to defend last year. They've got Josh Earl, I'm not the biggest fan of, but he's meant to be off as well. So centre back who started both games is off. I just don't see how Barnsley do anything with a shit attack and a shit defence.
How dare you? Yeah, I don't mind this bet. I was on Orient last week at Wigan, and maybe didn't deserve to win 2-0, but they did. Wigan completely down on their luck. And I was at Barnsley game last night, actually. They went pretty strong. Problem is now, Earl's going. Mail Dijavigny's gone. Lopeta, I think that's how you pronounce it. He's gone back to Poland. Mark Roberts went at the start of the season. He got released, and O'Connell got released. And Stendel's not fancying Shepherd, so they had to play last night. Sam Gale, highly regarded centre back from
brilliant, yeah.
Gillingham, yeah, and Ollie K, something K. I always forget his first name, but 2 youngsters, and they are quite prone to mistakes. I'm just looking for him now. It'd be annoying if they don't have him priced. No, they ain't got him priced, because you just reminded me, Kay, the centre back, he had like 3 shots last night. Against Bromley, he had 5. He just gets it and shoots from like 50 yards out all the time. I'm going to see if he's priced to score from outside the area. Yeah, they've only got 1 striker as well. It's a good point. Mackenzie Kirk on loan from Portsmouth. He had a good spell a few seasons ago in the Scottish Prem. But he's just really struggling. He's really struggling. He cut a frustrated figure last night, and every time I've watched him, the only niggling doubt is I like it as a price, so we'll just put it in and move on. But Barnsley were the second worst defence in the division last season. They got battered by Wigan in the EFL Cup first round. Should have lost like 4-5-1. Only conceded once. Bromley, allegedly Bromley had something ridiculous like 5 big chances. But I was at the game. They had 1. And they missed it, and then they scored a fluky goal. So I thought the defensive improvement was good. And then they got a 0-0 draw at Donny, pretty solid again. And then Crewe put them under a bit of pressure first 25 minutes, and then they was good. But I can't ignore that. Wellens is going to go well, isn't he? 6-5, fine. What do you think of Huddersfield's price at Cambridge? 29-20. Would you want to take on the U's?
Oh, Cambridge are a hard side. They're someone I was not keen on. Like, I thought they'd survive comfortably this summer. But they're just one of them hard teams to play against, aren't they? They're sort of like your Bromley, sort of just tough defensively. I know the first game was 3-2, but they're just very, very solid defensively, aren't they? They conceded only 33 last season in the league. Best home record in the league last year, only conceded 15. I know it's a whole different kettle of fish going up, but Huddersfield are just so, you just never know what you're getting with Huddersfield. It looked like they were a better team against MK Dons, swept Wimbledon aside. But yeah, Huddersfield are just impossible to read for me. So I think it's a decent price, but they're just a side that I never trust.
Yep, I agree with you. And then Plymouth-Bradford, this is a game I was wondering about goals.
Yeah, I think Bradford are a bit chunky as well, but Plymouth are good at home.
D11-5 about Bradford then. Would you want to get them on side like double chance?
I don't know, but that's the thing. Bradford have started the season really well, and Plymouth I know a lot of Plymouth fans are unhappy with the owner again because they haven't really replaced Talage. They just look. They should have got battered at Wickham. They got completely outclassed at home to Stockport. It hasn't clicked for them this season. It could click any minute with Plymouth. I'm quite high on them this season. But Bradford haven't conceded yet in the league.
Yep.
Or in the cup. Bradford, I didn't watch Sheffield Wednesday game, but apparently nullified them well. Comfortable win against Peterborough. It's not one I'd. It's one I'd. If we had a separate like long shot, like it's one I'd chuck them in a double with Millwall or something. But again, for the Acca, don't know if I could be having a big odds away side in the Acca.
Well, do you know what I've just done? I've just cleared the bet slip. What I'm going to do, I'm going to put Millwall to win, Bradford to win. That's over 10-1 already. And that gives us a lot of wiggle room. We can just do big prices.
Why don't we do two Accas? Like one long shot double. We could just do that as a 10-1 double.
Yeah, boy.
And then do an Acca as we've been doing.
What about the? We'll have a look. We'll have a look. What about the other games in League One? There's Wednesday Bromley, Stevenage Donny, and then Stockport Wigan.
That Wednesday, I'm not backing it because it's Bromley, but when are you getting 1.83 for the team expected to come bottom against the team expected to come top? So I don't rate Pedersen as a manager. No. Wednesday at Hillsborough against Bromley, 1.83. I was surprised at that price.
It's absolutely nuts.
I narrowed it down sort of contradict myself, but I narrowed it down to back against Wednesday because I assumed Wednesday would I'm not saying they should have, but I just assumed they were going to open really, really short, like 1 to 2-ish, just purely based on reputation. So I'm very surprised at 1.83, and it's one of them prices where Wednesday could win comfortably, and why didn't we take that prize? 1.83 is surely too big for Wednesday.
It's massive. Honestly, yeah. I've been waiting for it was Bromley against Barnsley, and I thought I rate Barnsley potentially as a side that might sneak the top half, but pre-season and expectations was 12th, like 10th if I'm being generous to 24th. But if I had to earmark him at the moment in time when they played Bromley, I would have said 20th is Barnsley, and I rate Bromley as a top half team. Love for Woodman or not, I think they'll be a top half team. And Bromley were 5-2 at Oakwell, so obviously responsibly gambled into that. But how are Bromley 14-5 against Wednesday? Because they're the second favourites for promotion. All the underlying metrics are really good. I don't get what this price has been based off. So surely we just have to take it. And I was there for that Bromley win at Oakwell. It says they had a load of big chances. I'm telling you now, they didn't. The big chance they had was from a mistake. It was a ricocheted shot from a ricocheted clearance from a ricocheted shot that they got the goal. Credit to them. But you repeat that game at Barnsley 100 times over, and I don't think they'll win it many times. Wednesday, that game against Bradford, I watched it. First half, really good. Second half, Bradford scored early and then killed them off. I don't know about the game against Wolves in Cup, but Orient made a good game of that away at Orient. Wednesday won it with a pen, but I think the first goal was...
Boniface is set, didn't he?
Yeah, oh my God, yeah, he did. And then I think the equaliser was from a bit of a howler from Orient's fullback. So, yeah, rode their luck a bit there. But it were like with that Bradford game. Bradford are top of the league. They started really well. But if Wednesday took one of the chances that they made it first off, they could have been out of sight by half time. So,
Yeah, I think Wednesday.
I think Wednesday,
I
annoyingly.
I also like both teams to score. Stockport, Wycombe. Stockport went to Plymouth opening day and dismantled them 3-1. A lot of Plymouth fans saying one of the best opposition like performances they've seen. McNulty just pass, like pops teams off the pitch. And but then they got beat. I can't remember the score now. I'm just getting out now. Where is it? Why's my phone not loading? They then got beat 2-1 at home to Blackpool. Again, but 78% possession to Blackpool's 22%, 3.54 XG to Blackpool's 1.79. So again, chance at both ends. Again, on another day, Stockport would have won that comfortably. And they play a Wycombe side I wanted over 2.5 goals originally. Then Wycombe have drawn both games 1-1. Again, away at Blackpool, it looks like they got dominated. 2.37 XG for Blackpool, 1.29 for Wycombe. And then they should have beat Plymouth at home. Looks like they were the better team at home to Plymouth. So, yes, teams that can score at both ends. Both teams' scorers landed in both games so far for them. That's about 3-4 for the both teams' score, which I think's a decent price.
Yeah, that is absolutely beautiful. Yes, that's making sense. That's making a lot of sense. I was just tinkering with it in my bet slip. So if we leave Bradford and who was the other team? The other
Mill.
big press team, Millwall. What did we have? We had sort of overs or Bristol City to score two against Pompey.
Yeah.
Was there another one for goals in that league? No.
No, I don't think so. Then we had
Um,
Orient win.
yeah, that was it. Orient win. Wednesday win. And then both teams to score yes in Stockport v Wycombe. So at the minute that's 13s. What is there in, well, just a shade under 14-1. In League Two, I like York,
Yeah.
Exeter for goals.
Oh, I was going to say York win, but
8-13 about the 8-13, 13-20 about the York win. I don't think it's I don't think it's a bad price. I
it's
just
just,
prefer
yeah,
goals.
yeah, true. Because it was 1-1 away at Rotherham, but it seems like York battered them.
York battered them, and then there were 5 goals in that game against Bristol Rovers.
Yeah, but York at home are different. York are brilliant for goals, to be fair. The only worry for me is that Exeter just sit deep.
Do they do that?
Exeter beat Accrington 2-0 and like 2 early goals and sort of just killed the game off. And then they lost 1-0 away at Grimsby. Looks like Grimsby had them penned in. I don't know. It's between goals and York win here, so I'm happy to go with whatever you fancy.
I prefer goals. I've just got this thing in my mind about National League sides coming up and struggling.
Yeah,
But York aren't doing that at all, are they? It's fucking Rochdale that are.
Woody goals. And then the other one that stood out for me is opposing one of your favourite managers, Steve Cottrell. Barnet win.
Yeah, can't
Again,
argue with that.
It's like I expected Barnet to be short. I expected them to be a tad short potentially, but yeah, they beat Salford, like heavy title favourites, 3-1 opening day, and then beat Shrewsbury by the same score away. I sort of said it before when I was high on Barnet pre-season. Just very like fluid in attack. They're brilliant from set pieces. They've got multiple ways of scoring, and they started last season slow, but as soon as they signed Shimanga, they just flew. And yeah, like I said, the multiple ways of scoring. I don't rate Cheltenham at all. They beat Rotherham 2-1 in the opener. But again, 6 shots to Rotherham's 19. Seemed Cheltenham were relatively like really good Jake Evans goal. Seemed they were quite fortunate to win that, but then they were probably unlucky to lose away at Swindon. But yeah, I'm just not sold on Cheltenham completely this year. And Barnet look team to beat for me in League Two.
Yeah, completely agree with that. I was really worried going into the new season after they lost. I know it was a weird one because Stead finished as their top goal scorer, but he scored 5 in one game. Like it looked like he struggled to adapt a bit, and then he went to Cambridge, and then Glover, possibly the best midfielder in the league last season, he went to Stockey League One. So I was like, I really fancy Barnet at the prices pre-season, but he was putting a lot of trust in their gaffer to work his magic on the squad, and he has done. So. Yeah, I don't see a problem with that. 8-13 at home. Cheltenham were lucky, weren't they, to beat Rotherham and then lost last weekend. So yeah, fine. Although it feels a little bit short for a League Two team. But
Yeah, I know we never trust League Two, but so far this season, League Two's treated me quite well. So
it's playing. What it's behaving itself. That's
yeah,
what I was
it
trying to
is
say.
this year. Last year, it didn't behave itself at all.
No,
Could have
it's
thrown
very
a dart at
nonsense.
any bet and got lucky. But yeah, this year it's behaving for a bit. So
The only other one in this division that I'm just looking at now is Colchester, 11-8 to beat Rochdale.
yeah, Rochdale have a shit start.
Do you know, Rochdale, it's so obvious now. I don't know why I got so pent up on York being the ones to oppose. I even said it for Rochdale's first game, didn't I, when we did the show? Like, they played Newport away. And I was like, 17-10, probably too short for Newport, who we expect to go down. They absolutely battered them. Now, Rochdale are struggling. Like, they lost the gaffer. They lost one of their best players, didn't they? Kyron Gordon.
Yeah,
Went literally toe for toe, pound for pound with York last season, lost out in dramatic fashion, but they lost their manager to Stockport and they got that fella from South Shields, unknown quantity at the level, and to make the jump up from North to League Two is massive. It's massive, and he's clearly struggling. They got outplayed by Crawley, 3-0 loss to Newport, lost in the Cup after beating Tranmere on pens in the preliminary round, lost away at Bradford. So that's 3 defeats in the last 3 games, all comps. 7 conceded, 1 scored. Now I know Colchester haven't started the best. They had some good players last season, didn't they? Have they lost them? What's the crack?
who Rochdale? They lost.
No,
Oh,
Colchester.
lost. They had that front four there for a bit. Payne, Mabick. Mabick's obviously gone. Lisby's gone. Just Colchester fans were just very unsure about how to feel about the season, and I was sort of the same with them. Again, it's a decent price, but with League Two, it's one of them that could go either way, as opposed to Barnet, if you know what I mean.
No, I'm not. Yeah. I'm not saying it instead of Barnet, but Colchester were losing to Oldham last week. Oldham got a man sent off. Never a red card day. 1-2-1. Drew away at Accrington. Accrington aren't expected to go well this season. Yeah, I might put that in my column, but we'll leave it off here. You know, with Barnet in, so the sixfold winners, Wednesday, Orient, Barnet, overs in Bristol City v Portsmouth and York v Exeter, and then both teams to score Stockey v Wickham. That is a bit over 43-1.
That's chunky, that.
I think that's all right, isn't it? Shall we settle on that?
Yeah.
Sound. So I'll try and remember to put the screenshot of that in at this point of the video. It'll probably just be a screenshot of it as it appears on Bet365, and I'll track it as those odds because I know everyone's got a Bet365 account. Right, into the best bets. Kick us off. Kick us off with your medium favourite bet.
Ooh. Well, there's one of my favourite bets. It's from the same game, so I'll do that one because there's a few in this game. Barrow Yeovil. So I've gone Yeovil to win at 11-4. Had a point on Yeovil. A point on Luke McCormick to score at 6-1, and half a point on the brace at 80-1. I wasn't too sold on Barrow pre-season. They're one of the teams I didn't know where to put them, so I just put them slap bang mid-table. Because Adam Murray, he was good at Eastbourne. I got them to third, I think. But they had big spending. The sort of football wasn't attractive. It was pure long ball and bit shit. Did the same at Kidderminster. Wasn't highly rated there. Kidderminster fans turned on them, singing songs, getting them out and everything. But yeah, managed to sort of power through the end of the season. They sort of snuck through the playoffs, and then he'd jumped ship to Barrow sort of after jumping ship from Eastbourne to Kidderminster. So he's quite a temperamental manager in that regard. Very Marmite as well with a lot of fans. And yeah, the way they started, they lost 2-0 at Hartlepool in a very low margin game before getting beat 2-1 at home to playoff winners Hornchurch, one of the most unfancy sides in the league. The Hornchurch goal, one of them was an absolute worldie, 30 yards from the centre back, which sort of you can't really account for, but just not sold on them. They drew 2-2 at Harrogate, which on paper is a good result. They only accumulated 0.7 XG, and over half of that came chasing the game after the 85th minute. Harrogate scored and sort of just sat back, and that invited the pressure on. So Barrow accumulated like 0.4 of their 0.7 XG after that. Yeah, and I was really big on Yeovil pre-season. I really like their squad, sort of the squad depth. There's a lot of multifaceted players. I just really like it. And they dismantled Gateshead 3-0 in the last game. And before that, they'd drawn 1-1 at Scunny with a Luke Brennan worldie in the 90th minute to equalise. And they drew 1-1 at home to Carlisle with 10 men. And again, conceded in the last minute. So fine margins, and wouldn't have surprised me if it was... They could have been 3-3 if it weren't for late goals. And yeah, so Yeovil win at 11-4, point on that. And then for the goal scorer, McCormack, he's a player I enjoyed back in last year. And after a strong pre-season where he scored quite a few, he started the season slow. I don't think he had a single shot in the Carlisle or Scunthorpe game because Yeovil sort of scored relatively early and sort of the other teams were coming on to them. But he's back to his best against Gateshead with a brace. He scored 8 in 31 last year. So 1 in, a bit less than 1 in 4 in a much worse Yeovil side, a sort of side that wasn't really achieving much, whereas this year look a lot more expansive. And yeah, sort of watching back the highlights of the Gateshead game, Walker or Spazov, whoever was up front, like Walker started, Spazov came on, they would sort of drop deep, link up play, and McCormack and Lennon would be the sort of the most advanced, like running off the ball, and sort of their first 2 goals came from that. So McCormack is always a 1 further forward, so he's sort of box crashing 10, always a goal threat, and think it'll be Walker and penalties, but McCormack took 1 last season, so I don't know if he's going to be on pens this season. But regardless, him to score at 6-1 and the brace at 80s look a chunk too big for me.
Well, look, I love it. Friday night, Wrexham, Birmingham. We just spoke about it in the Acca Hollywood derby. Ben Whiteman's 4-1 for a card. I'm having a point on that with 365.
Did you have him last week when he got third?
I did myself, but I didn't tip it anywhere. I tipped him on the show then on Monday.
Yeah.
And then it was about 15 minutes before kickoff on Saturday, and I thought, fuck, I forgot about Ben Whiteman, because they said on the radio he's getting his first start, so I checked his price, and it was big. So I had some money on it, but it was too late to even tweet it. It was about 3 minutes before kickoff. And then he opened at 9-2 today. It weren't today, it might have been yesterday, and then he shuffled into 4-1, which is still massive. 22 cards last 2 seasons at Preston, card on debut, not debut, first start last weekend. So yeah, it's a good bet, I think. Referee's pretty good as well. He's given a lot of cards. I'm just looking for the notes. I ain't got his name written down on the notes. He's given a lot of cards in the Championship, as I've just tried to find his name. He's done 9 games across the last 3 seasons and dished out 37 bookings. Robert Jones, 4.3 cards a game last season, and he's on the telly. They're trying to make it into a bit of a rivalry. There's never that much needle. There is actually. There were a red card and a ruckus when they met in League One, but there's never loads and loads of cards. But with this referee, there could be, and it's under the lights on the telly, which I always think makes it more likely. But 4-1 is just too big for this player. He gets so many cards. So that's my first bet from Friday night. Where are you taking us next?
So that Yeovil game's also Friday. I'll stick with the Friday night games and go AFC Fylde versus Forest Green, and got an AFC Fylde win and both teams score 10-3 with 1.5 points. I noted when I saw the slate, I straight away noted down this goal game for goals, and it was like 1.8, I think, for both teams scoring overs, which I was getting ready to gamble responsibly heavily on, and that's just been absolutely battered in. So, but I still think there's juice in this game for this. Last game, Fylde conceded twice in extra time to lose 3-2 to Woking. They were unlucky to draw 2-2 in the opener with Wilson, and they also beat Tamworth away. You've got a plethora of attacking options with Ormrod, Main, Mayer, someone else here. I can't go on at the top of my head. But yeah, really good attacking talent, and sort of like Worthing in the North, they sort of won the league by scoring ridiculous amount. I can't remember exactly how many they scored last year, but they were ridiculous. Uh, they play a Forest Green side who are great squad on paper, but I've always said I don't rate Savage as a manager. He really struggles to coach a defence. Opening day, they beat Halifax 3-2, very tight game before beating Worthing 2-1 away. Sort of a game Worthing could have been out of sight by half time, and sort of Forest Green got back in it from a goalie mistake, passing the ball straight to the striker, giving him an open goal. So yeah, Forest Green were lucky not to concede a few more there, and then completely outclassed by Boreham Wood 3-0 at home. Savage sort of said, we've lost to the best team in the league here. So yeah, Forest Green defensively aren't that good. It's two attacking teams who can't defend, and I just think it'll be a shootout, and a shootout that I can see the hosts edging at a decent price.
Lovely stuff. Probably my next best bet actually. MK Dons play Leicester. Early kickoff, League One, Saturday, 12:30. That is. And again, it was another one that I had earmarked early on in the week. I think they opened around 11-5 MK Dons, and they've been chipped in to about 19-10. Probably still a bit like a chunk of value, but I was looking to be ways to be even more greedy. And I think the way to play it is take them -1 on the Asian handicap 4-1, bet 365, money back if they win by 1 goal, a lot more money if they win by 2, and then you lose your stake, which is a point for me on this bet. If they draw or lose, and the thinking is that, like, above all else, it's Warren v Martin. They've met for 3 times in each of their both of their managerial careers. Warren's yet to lose. 1-1, drawn 2. But the important thing to remember here is Warren's always been the underdog. He's always been managing Rotherham. Or Rotherham, I think, is the only team he's managed as a gaffer against Martin, whereas Martin's been managing. He's definitely played against him for MK Dons the other way around. He's definitely managed Swansea and Southampton. I think the other 2 games were, one of the games at least was Swansea. Basically, Martin is always the team with a bit of clout. Warren was previously managing Rotherham, so the fact that he's gone unbeaten deserves a bit of credit. This time he's managing MK Dons. Now, they was promoted as runners-up. I always forget, but they was like winning the title going into the final game of the season, weren't they, in League Two? But they let it slip. But what Ward and the backroom staff were doing at MK Dons last season, they were building to compete in League One. They had so many good players, and they've come up and they immediately went to like 5th or 6th favourites. Anti-post, they signed even more League One quality, like Barlasser came this summer. You got like Ben Wiles, Aaron Collins up top, Mendes Lang. They've got so many good players.
Brian
Wintle, best player in the league probably last season, weren't he?
Yeah, I reckon so.
And just snaffled him up. Fine, they're so good. They started the season with 2 draws, but I was so annoyed. Leicester lost to Burton last week. 11-2 Burton. Should have seen that coming, really, but I couldn't look past the price. I just wasn't sure if it were big enough, to be honest. You know, with the players Burton had lost. Like, I know Gary Bowyer pulled off some shocks last season, but without Beasley, I weren't sure how he was going to think of a way to beat Leicester. But one thing that I didn't really put enough stock in was how bad Leicester have been. They got outplayed by Northampton in the Cup. Notts County were unlucky not to beat them in their first league game, and then Burton did. And they since got battered in midweek to Ipswich in the Cup. So, fine, I think they started the season really poorly. Usually it takes Russell Martin a while, if he ever does, to get his style across, and it certainly seems to be the case this season. You also can't underestimate, which I did last week, the impact on back-to-back relegations is having. It's not a very nice atmosphere at the club. You look at the players they've brought in and the quality is undeniable, but is it suited to Russell's style of play, the style of play he wants to play? I'm not sure. It's like how you got Suter at the back. Is he a ball-playing centre-back? I watched a lot of him at United. He's bloody good defender, but he's shown in the first couple of weeks that he's not having the best of times adapting to Russell's style of play. And even you talk about the atmosphere around the club. When they won the league under Maresca, what did they do? This was the championship. All they did was whinge. They weren't happy with how boring the style of play was. So even when it does click for Russell Martin, the fans will probably complain about how turgid the style is. Compare if it does click as well, he wants to play total football. Does Russell Martin, doesn't he? One will be fine with that. He'll let them have the ball. He'll think of a way to beat them. It'd be direct. It'd be tough to play against, as Burton Ward last week. But I just think MK Dons are a better equipped side to be that nasty direct team. So no matter which way you look at this, I can't escape the fact that I think MK Dons are going to win, and I think they're probably going to win comfortably. I think Warren's a more adaptable manager, probably a better one than Martin. I think MK Dons have got a better squad on paper at this moment in time. I think the atmosphere at Leicester is terrible, and I think the clash of styles is going to suit the Dons. So you can get 4-1 then -1 handicap. Money back if they win by 1 goal. It's a winner if they win by 2. I really like that bet. What have you got next?
Well, I said pre-season as well that I didn't get Leicester being favourites. Everyone's saying they're going to piss the league. I didn't have I low-key didn't fancy them even finishing the playoffs. I just didn't have the bottle because it could have been one of them where they piss the league and I look like an idiot for not having them in the top 6. But yeah, I just think Martin's the wrong appointment. Like a club that's sort of on the decline, you don't appoint a manager. It takes a while to implement its style, and I just don't think their squad's that good, Leicester. So yeah, I agree with you on that. I've gone. How many bets do I have left? I've got a few left, but I'll do Saturday, Walton and Hersham versus Dorking. I've gone Dorking to score over 2 goals at 2-1. 1 point on that. It hasn't clicked for Dorking yet, but Mark White will be targeting this game, I think, as sort of a bounce back. They beat Tottenham away 3-0 after failing to win their first 2 games and sort of looked like a launch pad, but then they lost 3-2 at home to Maidstone. Scored 3 at Tottenham, 2 against Maidstone. And they've just got pure attacking talent. They've signed the Polish Pele from Walton. I won't pronounce his name. They signed George Nichols from Dover. Brilliant goal scorer. They've got Alfred Rutherford. They've got goals in abundance, but they just can't defend. And this could, again, be a very high-scoring game. Last season, Dorking only lost once at home last season. That was to Worthing right towards the end of the season, but their away form was shocking. So, I just think if Dorking score early, it could get a very high score in it. And Walton sort of won the league last season over Farnham, but it's just been disastrous. They lost their manager and top mate 3 players, could have even been more to Yeovil. They sort of just had a mass exodus of the players that got them up. They completely ripped it up. And it's been an awful start. Sort of lost 4 from 4, conceding 12. So as I said, if Dorking get an early goal, I can see sort of the floodgates opening. So yeah, Dorking over 2 goals at 2-1.
Love it. Next bet for me, Championship Saturday. I think it's a 3:00 kickoff. Southampton host Millwall, and you can get the visitors 11-4 to win. Betfred, that is, which I think is a fair enough price still. I then paid down a touch shorter than this, to be honest, but it's just frustrating because you see the opening price and then it's got chipped away a bit, which good because I guess you're on right lines, but by the time you come around to tipping it, it's always a bit sad to see it not as good as it was. But anyway, 11-4, I still think it's good enough for a point. Basically, I just think Millwall are really good. I was hot on them going into the season, and I feel vindicated by the start they've made. Top of the underlying metrics, top of the actual league table, 2 games in, so you can't really put much stock into that. They've just started really well. Bristol City and Norwich, the 2 teams they beat, both had a man sent off, but watching those, sort of being across both those games, it felt like they was already in the ascendancy in both of those games. So I don't think the red card had too much of an impact on either of those results. Southampton, I don't know. I just think I've just got this inkling that it could really it could implode spectacularly. As I've said when we were talking about them trying to get against them, get with Millwall for the Acca. I was just still waiting to find out how much of an impact, like how much of an edge they did gain from Spygate, and even when they was so good last season, I just felt a lot of their results were fine margin. 11 of 15 from a 24 game sample size. So they played 24 games, won 15. 11 of those wins, including the cup games, came by a 1-goal margin. So it feels very much to me like they was riding the crest of the wave. And I've got a feeling the bubble might burst, to be honest. and when it does, I think it's going to be spectacular. But at this moment in time, it might be better off getting against them away from home, as the novelty's not worn off with Spygate. But I'm going to do it this week, even though they are playing at St Mary's, because Millwall, as I said at the top of the show, were the best away side last season. So I think it's just worth getting with them at any opportunity. They've already gone to Bristol City and won. Bristol City fancied to go well after getting Skabala and signing the two best strikers from League One across the last couple of seasons, and then they beat Norwich at home comfortably. There was already 2 goals to the good, I think, by the time Norwich had a man sent off. Norwich, another team, fancied to go really well. Finished the season like a house on fire under Clement last season. So they're not just like beating dossers, they're beating two sides that you think could go really well. So this will be a tough test. I won't be surprised if they did lose, but I think at the price available, I was expecting this to be more like 9-4 about Millwall to win. So yeah, I'd take the price available. What have you got next?
Yeah, it's probably my favourite bet of the lot, and it's no surprise involving Worthing. Worthing win and both teams to score away at Tamworth 4-1. The 2-1 on Worthing to win on its own is chunky, but I'm sort of being greedy here. Yeah, last week Worthing cost me, I had like a 30-1 Twitter Acca, I think. Needed Worthing to score 2+. Had 3.5 XG and only scored 1. And Tom Love messaged me before the game, was like, "Oh, do Worthing look a bet today?" And I went, "Yeah, I'd rather take the 2+ goals at evens rather than the win at evens, because it wouldn't surprise me to see Worthing draw 2-2, but I can guarantee they won't win 1-0. So I had it coming. But yeah, they beat Carlisle 3-2 away in the only away game. Lost 2-1 at home to Forest Green. As I said, should have scored more against Wildstone. And sort of, again, it's free-flowing attacking football. They played Tamworth side, who I was quite keen on pre-season, but they've had a poor start. Very, very fortunate to draw 3-3 at Boreham Wood on opening day. Lost 2-1 at home to AFC Fylde and got battered 4-1 at Halifax. It just hasn't clicked for them. And their pitch, Tamworth are normally a hard team to beat at home, sort of good defensive, very good defensively, but they seem to sort of bit more expansive this year, which is taking some adapting to, and their pitch being 3G, normally quite a leveler at this level, but obviously Worthing play on the same pitch at home, so they're used to it. And I just think, yeah, based on Worthing having no fear, Tamworth's poor start to the season should be goals, and I can see Worthing getting the best of it. So winning both teams score at 4-1, I'm having 1.5 points on.
Lovely, jubbly. Sunday in League One, Wimbledon v Wigan. I think Wigan are in a bit of trouble. I watched him at Oakwell, and they were really good. There should have been 3 goals up at half time. Wasn't. And then Barnsley rallied in the second half, got the equaliser, but then even then Wigan had a goal disallowed late, which looked every bit onside. It got disallowed for offside, and then Barnsley went on to win on penalties. So my original pre-season thinking on Wigan was keep an eye on them, because Caldwell's a great manager, came in, salvaged the season last campaign, but it's one of them clubs where they haven't really got the resources financially to reinvigorate the squad, reinvest and sort of kick on. And a lot of their success last season was from Joe Lowe just pulling rabbits. Joe Taylor pulling rabbits out of the hat, like scoring ridiculous amounts. So they went to Cambridge, were 3-0 down, first game of the season, made the scoreline look respectable and won the XG battle if you care about that. But they only, like, the majority of their expected goals came after they were 3-0 down, and it's easy to play when you're getting absolutely battered. And then they lost 2-0 at home to Leyton Orient last weekend. Again, respectable on the XG battle, but they lost the game. And the thing is that I'm thinking is they're extremely wasteful. I've seen that firsthand. The underlying data reflects that. Like Sonny Perkins and Dara Costello in particular are having a tough old time in terms of taking chances at the minute. And if you can't score, you're simply not going to win games. So I really wanted to get with Wimbledon, but I just have my own reservations about them in terms of winning a game, creating enough chances at 2-1. So they failed to score against Reading, failed to score away at Huddersfield, which looks like that could prove to be a tough old place to go in the first game of the season. And then in the 2 cup games, they've drawn 1-1 with Orient and Newport. So instead of taking Wimbledon at 2-1 just to win the game, I'd rather back them 9-2 with Bet Victor, half a point for them to win to nil, because I can't see them conceding. But I don't fancy Wigan to win. So I'll take the 92 about Wimbledon to win to nil. I actually would have had Wimbledon to stay up. I like the manager and I like the core group of players. I just think that the chances of survival hinge on the fitness of those handful of players that they've got that are up to the level. And I think it's a long old season. If they lose a couple of key players, I just don't think they're going to have enough. But at this moment in time, I think they're probably worth siding with against Wigan. The other vet that I've just thought of that I couldn't believe I didn't think of at the time is just back the 0-0. 2 teams that can't buy a goal. So I was just blagging a bit there, Matthew. I don't know if you could tell while I loaded up odds checker 8-1 0-0. No first goal scorer. Sorry, I'm probably going to have half a point on that. It's a bit skinnier then.
Be good if Wimbledon win 1-0 from an own goal as well. It'd be perfect.
Do you know what? When I was talking about it, I was thinking that they're going to spot an own goal. That's probably the only way they're going to win. So yeah, I'll take both them, half a point on each. If you go on a Dutching calculator, odds checker have a good one. You could probably split your 1 point stake more wisely across them 2 prices. But yeah, it's up to you. 8-1. It's probably a bit skinnier than you're used to for seeing no first goal scorer, but I think it's worth a punt in this game. What have you got next?
Yeah, so I've got 3 bets left and they're all like sort of doubles and trebles. So the first one is a boring one, but sort of one I thought was a bit chunky. It's a treble under 2.5 goals in the National South between Chelmsford, Maidenhead, Hemel Hempstead, Weston-super-Mare and Truro, Dagenham. So Chelmsford have played 1 less game than a lot of teams in the league because they were meant to play Ebbsfleet and that was postponed. But yeah, this bet's landed 3 out of 3 times for Chelmsford, 4 out of 4 for Maidenhead. And yeah, Chelmsford have drawn 1-1, 1-1, 0-0. Maidenhead had the best defensive record in the league last season. Ryan Peters likes to keep it tight, but they struggled to score this year after losing Popola and Dawson, sort of key attacking departures. So yeah, it's 2 teams that struggled to score, quite evenly matched, so you can see a low scoring one. Another game, but all 3 are quite evenly matched teams, which helps. Another one, Hemel Hempstead versus Weston. Weston have actually seen overs in 3 out of 4, which doesn't bode well, but sort of if you break it down, one was a freak 3-2 loss against Dover, which sort of came out of the blue. And then the other ones were 3-0 home wins against weaker teams. I think it was Chesham and Hampton and Richmond. So again, they're playing weaker teams who sort of they could score a few against, but they didn't create that much XG in both. So sort of clinical finishing. And the only game that didn't go overs was 0-0 draw at Torquay, which they sort of backed to the wall, really solid defensive against one of the league favourites. And so that's the sort of fighting display I expect them to show away at a tough Hemel side who surprised many by getting in the playoffs last year, but their squad's been absolutely gutted. They don't have the finances a lot of other teams do, but they're just really clever recruitment. They lost a lot of key players. Lee Allison went to Dagenham, but yeah, very solid defence last year. Bircham's sort of looking to replicate that. Seeing under in 3 out of 4, other than their 2-1 win at Salisbury last time out, which again, they were very fortunate to win that, got battered and sort of shit out 2 late goals. And a final one, Truro Dagenham. Truro were relegated in a really poor season. First ever Cornish team to play at the National League, so it was a big achievement, but didn't really put up a fight at all. I thought they would, but they didn't. But from 14th downwards, only Yeovil conceded fewer goals in Truro, but only fellow relegated sides Braintree and Brackley scored fewer. So again, very low margin games last year, even when relegation. And yeah, they're yet to concede in their 3 games. Drew 0-0 at Chelmsford before 2-0 wins over Maidenhead and Tonbridge, 2 strong teams. Truro's miles away. Like, I don't know if people are aware, it's like the arse end of the country. Like, even for me on the south coast, probably take me 5 hours to get there. So yeah, it's going to take Dagenham ages to get there. They're going to be tired. They'll be desperate for a point. Dagenham, as I mentioned earlier, coached by Allison, prides himself on defensive solidity, kept clean sheets against Dorking and Torquay, 2 of the best sides in the league, and also away at Walton. The only goal they conceded was away at Farnham, home to Farnham, who are a free-flowing side. I watched it, very open game, but that's the only one of their 4 games to see over 2.5 goals. As I said, yeah, Truro is such a tough place to go, and I think both teams will snap your hand off for a point. Dagenham are 1-4 from 4. Truro are unbeaten still. It's one of the games both will settle for a point. I think, yeah, all 6 teams in this would settle for a point, and they're all evenly matched, sort of, which makes it perfect for, yeah, under 2.5 goal Acca at 11-1. A point on that. I don't know the odds of an under 1.5 goal treble. I haven't checked, but that could also be worth a play. I don't have the balls to do that, but yeah, the under 2.5 goal treble.
Lovely, Jubilee. They've gone really close recently. These non-league Accas. I've got a card Trixie 164-1 with Bet365. So if you put Whiteman at Wrexham v Birmingham on Friday with Femi Sariki for Sheffield United and Offa Lion for Blackburn, I think it's a decent payout. The reason I hadn't done the other two as singles and I haven't tipped them as singles is because I think both prices of value, but not as much value as Whiteman, and the referee appointments aren't as favourable as I think the one on Friday night is, and the direct opponents, because Sheffield United go to Cardiff. Who are Blackburn playing again? I forgot. QPR. I just don't think there's not as much that gets me excited for a card bet in the other two as the Whiteman one, but above all else, the prices are value. So while I won't back him, while I haven't tipped him as singles, I think fine chucking him in a treble because I do deem him to be value. But off the Lion, he was carded against Borough. He committed 6 fouls against Sheffield United in midweek, which is crackers, scored a worldie, and he's got a career cards per night and he averages 0.22, so the price available this weekend is a touch too big. And Femi Sariki, based on his cards per night average, his price to be booked is probably about right. That's his cards per night across his career, but he was carded against Mansfield in the Cup. He should have been carded against Birmingham. He absolutely clattered into somebody, but it was a boring game. There were no shots on target, and the ref didn't end up giving a card. So I think he was double keen to keep his cards in his pocket. But the way Femi Sariki plays, he's such an all-action player, full-blooded, not afraid to attack, but definitely doesn't shirk a tackle. So yeah, he's a player that I think is due for quite a cardy season. But even based on his cards per night average, this price is probably spot on, but I think he should have had a couple of cards already this season. So you got Whiteman alongside Blackburn's Offa Lion and Sheffield United's Femi Sariki, 164-1. Card Trixie with 365. What else have you got?
So it's pure goals now after going boring under. So the first one is over 2.5 goal double from National North, and it comes in at 2-1. Merthyr versus Chorley and Scarborough versus Southport. So Merthyr games, sort of, if you're a regular listener to the show last year, you know, back them basically every week for goals. Games saw just shy of 4 goals per game last year. It's only landed in 2 out of 4 this year, but the exceptions were opening day 2-0 win over struggling Head Desford and 1-1 draw at 10 men South Shields, where they sort of look to keep it tight against league favourites, and they'll be more expansive at home. So they've scored in all 4 games. And they play a Chorley side who have also scored in all 4 games. They've seen overs landed 3 out of 4. The exception was a 2-0 win at Marine. It's a long journey for Chorley, probably about 3.5, 4 hours. I know they're travelling on the day as well, so it could be a slow start, which Murph will look to exploit with that attacking team. But yes, as I said, both teams scored in every game so far this season. Scarborough opened with a 1-0 loss versus 10-man South Shields, but they are unlucky not to score at least one. I don't know if you would have seen the South Shield goalie save. It's probably, you're not going to see a better save this season than that. So fine margins. Since then, they've won 4-3 away at Head Nesford, 3-0, and then they lost 2-1 versus Chorley. So overs landing 3 out of 4, which is the same amount as Southport, whose only exception was a 1-1 draw with Buxton, who had 10 men. So Southport scored in every game. Scarborough scored in 3 out of 4, unlucky not to. So both teams should see plenty of goals. So yeah, the over 2.5 goal double, 2-1. Having a point on that.
Lovely. Jubbly. I got one more bet from the Prem. Chelsea played Brighton, and I like Luka Vuskovic.
Yeah. Have you seen the size of him, by the way? Like, I didn't realise. I thought it's because I was probably pissed at Tromso, so I didn't take it into account. But when I saw him against Villa, he's about 6'4", but he looks like built like an absolute brick shithouse.
Big boy. Yeah, well, I'm hoping he commits some fouls against Chelsea. It's a game with a bit of needle. It has a bit of needle, doesn't it? I'm not sure why.
Shut up.
They basically fund your entire existence, do Chelsea, bless them.
They're fucking belling. I can't stand that club.
Yeah, well, there's been a fair bit of needle recently. I think there's been 11 cards the last two games last season, and I think Brighton have committed 30 fouls in those two meetings. So you
Yeah, like
can
because
get
we had it like last year. I think within the first 10 minutes, Veltman just absolutely. It was like a perfect tackle, won the ball, but he just went through the player and got booked for it. So the players are like up for it. I think the players understand how much Chelsea fans don't really care, but for the Brighton fans, it's sort of a big thing. So the players sort of play into that.
excellent news. Anyway, the Luka Vuskovic is 9-1 Betfred for 3 fouls. I'm having a point on that. The thing is, right, he only averaged like just under one per game in Europe. Where was he? Belgian Pro League and somewhere else.
Bundesliga, yeah.
Bundesliga. But like the competitive nature of the Premier League, I think the average is going to jump up. And in pre-season, last two games, I think he committed 7 fouls, 3 and 4, played 45 minutes in one game, 60 minutes in the other. So he was already committing a lot more fouls in pre-season. Then that game you went to, he was booked for 1 foul, subbed at half-time. And then against the Villains you look confused.
I don't. I thought he played the full 90 against Tromsø. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure he played the full 90. But
How drunk were you?
not too bad, to be fair. I'm sure he played the full 90.
I'm going to double check it now. But against the Villa, he did play the full 90, and he committed a foul before João Gomez got sent off, and I was thinking, right, we're in the money here, and then João Gomez got sent off, and then he's basically playing against no one for the rest of the game. He didn't commit another foul, and his centre-back partner, Lewis Dunk, committed 2 fouls. Very, very frustrating, but it is what it is. But against Chelsea, I think he's going to be in a lot more of a scrap. I watched Chelsea at Fulham on Monday, and my word, that front three were good. Palmer's in the mood. Rodgers is loving playing with his best mate, and João Pedro's a good player. But you boys will know all too well how good of a player João Pedro is. And between them, they completed so many dribbles and they drew 5 fouls. And I think that's going to be a feature of the season is those three. There's such a fluid front three. I think they're going to move a lot of players everywhere. I think you're right, though. I don't think he got subbed at half-time in that game.
I was going to say, I'm sure he played the full 90. But he, like, against Villa, he's so aggressive in all his duels. But I just think, the games they killed it against Villa. But of what I've seen, he uses his hands a lot to jump. So he could give away a lot of soft fouls that way.
No, you are spot on. He only committed 1 foul, played the 90 minutes. And you've heard it from the man who watches Brighton every week. He's very aggressive. You can get 2 fouls at 2-1. That's Bet365 and Betfred. Which is great because you can go in the Betfred store and have it cash monies on the machine, and they've got Super Sub as well. But expect similar prices when Flutter drop. Like this is a consistent price across the board because it's based on his fouls per game average, I'm guessing, which is low, but I think it's going to go up. Matthew said it. He's an aggressive defender. I've seen enough to believe that too, and I just think Chelsea's front three is made for drawing fouls. So. I'm going to ignore the 2 fouls because this is a long shot show and just go for the tasty 3 fouls at 9-1. Have you got anything else?
Yeah, so I've had a bit of luck recently, just sort of sharing bets to my mates and sometimes on Twitter with over 2.5 at step 3. I picked my 4 favourite for an over 2.5 goal at 11-2, which I'm having 1.5 points on. Purely based, small sample size, but success rate so far this year. First one, Eastbourne versus Leatherhead. Both teams, I've lost my notes for this, so I'm freestyling it. But Eastbourne, I know for a fact both teams have gone 4 for 4 for over 2.5 goals. Eastbourne got relegated sort of against the odds, and we've got Steve King who's thrown money at it, and Yeah, they've drawn 2-2, won 3-2, won 3-2, and lost 2-1. But they were the league favourites, and they still are the favourites to win this game against Leatherhead, who just got promoted. They won 2-1, beat Welling 4-1, who I'm very keen on, drew 2-2 at Burgess Hill before getting battered 4-1 at home to Malden Tiptree. So both teams are scoring, both are conceding, and it just stinks of a high-scoring game. Then you got St Albans versus Stanway. St Albans sort of had a poor season last year in their return to Ishterman, and they're looking to rectify that. They started the season with 3-1 win at Chatham before a 2-1 win at rivals Enfield. Surprise 2-0 loss at home to Lewis before 4-0 battering away at Ramsgate. So again, they've gone overs in 3 out of 4, as have Stanway Rovers, who they play, who sits second bottom. They drew 0-0 in the opening game, sort of settling into the league away at Cheshunt, a Cheshunt team who are very low scoring as well. So sort of that's more on Cheshunt being low scoring than Stanway. Their 2 home games have lost 3-1 to Ramsgate, 2-1 to Cole Charlton before getting battered 4-0 at Welling. It wouldn't surprise me if St Albans put 3 past them themselves. Then you got Welling, Ramsgate. Welling, I'm on at 40-1 to win the league. So I'm happy with their start so far. Their 3 wins so far have been 2-0 at home to Whitehall, 4-0 at home to Stanway, and then a shock 3-0 win at Dartford, with their only loss coming in a shock 4-1 loss at Leatherhead. So they're really good for scoring goals, but that loss at Leatherhead shows they have it in them to concede. And they play a Ramsgate side who games are averaging 4 goals from their 4 games. Overs has landed in every one. They've lost 3-2 to Enfield and 2-1 to Leatherhead before beating Stanway 3-1 and St Albans 4-0. So again, high scoring teams. So they're 3 from the Ishterman. And then from the southern south, you got Evesham versus, don't know where the fuck Evesham is, never heard of it, versus Plymouth Parkway. Plymouth Parkway have always a team I back for goals. And they've sort of started the season really well. They beat Bracknell 7-0 on the opener. Sort of a Bracknell side still finding their feet for a really respectable 1-1 draw against Bath, who are opened as league favourites, I think, but then Gloucester sort of got smashed into favourites. Lost 3-2 at Chippenham and beat Havant 2-1. So they've scored in every game. Overs has landed 3 out of 4. And they face an Evesham side whose games have been absolutely batshit crazy as well. They 4 games have seen 18 goals with a 4-1 loss, 4-0 loss, 3-0 win, 4-2 win. So they're 4 for 4 for overs. So it's 4 teams who are scoring a lot and can sort of conceding a lot. And yeah, 11-2 for the over 2.5 Acca. I'm having 1.5 point on. And before I forget, there was an outright I wanted to flag for. I was going to put it in sort of as a newsletter, but I thought I'd bide my time to talk about it on here. So it's in the Southern Central, Real Bedford are about 5-4, maybe even shorter to win the league. So, and their team I was heavy on pre-season. I think they will win the league. And I'm not saying I'm going to hedge my bets, but if I was to, Bury, I'm not putting it forward as an official pick yet because I'm actually going to watch Bury on Saturday. So I can get a better reading of Bury then. But they are 16-1 to win the Southern Central. Yeah, Real Bedford 11-10. So they're the sixth favourites to win at 16-1. And I was speaking, I know like quite a few people who play at Step 3, played against them or play in the same league, load of fans. So of what I've gathered, they're very, very highly rated, Bury this season. They sort of, final 20 games, sort of final half of last season, they had playoff. It would have just missed out in the playoffs last year. They finished 14th, but ended the season really well. And they're 4 from 4 this season. And what struck me, someone sent it to me, when they played Leamington, who got relegated. I wasn't big on Leamington. The Leamington manager came out and did an interview. He said, I don't normally do this, but with no interview after an away game, I think it's important I come out and keep some fan engagement. He said, I don't ever want to be that manager who hides away after a loss. Today we came up against a very good side, a side I feel is better equipped to win the league than Real Bedford after seeing both teams. That's my honest opinion. So you're getting that from a Leamington manager. Bury have won all 4. Beat Halzowen 1-0, who are good. Stamford away 1-0. Stratford away 3-1 and Leamington 3-0 at home. So they've only conceded 1. They're scoring goals. And again, I was speaking to someone, they made the point that Bury's St Edmunds is a very isolated place. So they're able to be quite unique with their recruitment, sort of Ipswich, Norwich players. They're in that sort of world. So they're not at risk of sort of certain teams in that league or all like Birmingham based or something, so that they can get bigger teams in that area sniffing about their players. Got it in Isham, you get like all the bigger North London clubs sniffing about. Their area quite unique in terms of there's not many clubs around the area, so they're not in danger of getting their players poached really locally. And you tend to find because of those sort of squads, they're very tight knit. Probably why Truro did so well, because they've got a lot of long journeys on the coach. So that sort of, it's not like they're travelling 20 minutes to another North London team. Like, right, if St Albans were playing Enfield or something, Bury Town have a lot of travelling to do. And I think sounds like a stupid point, but it will be a very tight knit squad together. So yeah, it's a squad that seems very tight knit. They've got started really strongly and 16-1. I'm not putting it forward officially yet. I might do next week after seeing them on Saturday. But it's one to flag and sort of one to keep an eye on in case the price drifts or shortens.
Excellent. No, I look forward to that. I started punching it in on the spreadsheet, and then you went, I'm not putting it forward officially. So I was like, I got a minute. Yeah, no, that's good news though. And outrights is definitely something we're going to put more focus on this season. I was the same on Monday. I just trolled through all the odds. I already mentioned Hull to finish bottom. I had a look at Coburn, 33's top goal scorer, halved in price, but he's got 2 and 2. Hit the woodwork. He's like top sort of 5 percentile for all the underlying data metrics. His movement's really good. He's always been one of them strikers. Sort of needs like 2 or 3 chances to score one, but Millwall are creating so many. That's one I'm keeping tabs on. Same as Good Johnson at Blackburn. He's got 2 and 2. 80s. Similar. He was sort of over 100-1. But second season comes sort of from Scandinavia via Belgium. And I think it's important with these sort of strikers who've hit double figures before across Europe, like having a season, especially when you come from Scandinavia, where they usually sort of play through the summer. So fitness is a question. That's another one I've been looking at. Wigan to be relegated. Joseph Taylor, top goal scorer in League One. And maybe Alex Newby for York. He's 66ers. He scored a couple. I need to see if he's on penalties, but it looks like my boy Josh Stones is going to be out for a while. So, and Pierce hasn't scored yet. So these are all ones I'm looking at. Same as you, though. Not backing them yet. Just excited to be across some outrights this season. But I think that's everything, isn't it, for today?
Yep, covered a lot today.
Covered a lot, I know. Longer than usual. But instead of recapping all the bets, I will put the screenshot of the spreadsheet for both our picks for the weekend. I'll recap the Acca quickly. We've gone to win Sheffield Wednesday, to beat Bromley, Leyton Orient to beat Barnsley, and Barnet to beat Cheltenham. Then goals, we've gone over 2.5 in Bristol City against Portsmouth and York v Exeter, and then both teams to score in Stockport against Wickham, and that is a little bit over 43-1 with Bet365. All the other bets that we instead of recapping, I'll just put them at this point in the show. That's it. Thank you for your time, Matthew.
Pleasure as always.
There he is. Best of luck everyone with your picks this weekend. Let us know what you're on in the comments, and we should be back next weekend. Yeah, perfect. Right, catch you on the flip and flip.